Chapter 1. The Initial Encounter. Lena Carter wasn't in search of anything or anyone. At 34, she enjoyed a flourishing career as a marketing consultant, a snug apartment in the city, and a circle of close friends who filled her weekends with activities. However, when she agreed to meet for coffee with a friend from her networking group, she had no inkling that her life was about to take a turn. Nathan Ellis, at 36, possessed a quiet confidence that was hard to ignore. A successful architect with a warm smile and sharp wit, he had a natural charm that made others feel at ease. Lena Carter adjusted her scarf as she stepped into the cozy little cafe, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee wrapping around her like a warm hug. She scanned the room and spotted Nathan Ellis at a corner table, his easy smile lighting up the space as he waved her over. "Hey, you made it," he said, standing to greet her with an outstretched hand. His grip was firm but gentle, a reassuring presence that made her feel instantly at ease. "Of course. I wouldn't miss a chance for coffee," Lena replied, settling into the chair across from him. Especially not with someone who apparently knows all the best indie film spots in the city. Nathan chuckled, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Guilty as charged, but I have to warn you, my recommendations might lead to some serious film obsession." "Bring it on. I've been known to binge watch a series or two," she teased, leaning forward as the barista arrived with their drinks. As they took their first sips, Lena couldn't help but notice how Nathan's presence felt both comforting and invigorating. "So, tell me about your latest project. I heard you're working on something big?" "Ah, the skyscraper downtown. It's been a whirlwind, but I love the challenge," he said, his passion evident in his voice. "Designing a space that people will live and work in is exhilarating. But what about you? What's the most exciting thing in your marketing world right now?" Lena found herself animatedly sharing her latest campaign, her enthusiasm catching Nathan's attention. "It sounds like you're making a real impact." "You know, I've always admired how marketing and architecture are both about understanding people. We're all just trying to figure out how to connect, right?" Nathan nodded, his gaze steady on hers. "Exactly. It's about creating something that resonates. Like a well-constructed building or a captivating ad, it's all about the story behind it." Their conversation flowed effortlessly, punctuated by laughter and thoughtful pauses. Lena was surprised at how naturally they clicked. "I can't believe we both love old bookstores," she said with a grin. "I thought I was the only one who still sought out dusty shelves for hidden gems." "Oh, I'm a firm believer in the magic of physical books. There's something special about flipping through the pages, don't you think?" Nathan replied, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. "Absolutely. It's like holding a piece of someone's soul," she mused, her eyes bright with understanding. As they delved deeper into their favorite authors and the charm of forgotten stories, Lena felt a warmth spreading through her, a recognition of something unspoken. It was more than just companionship. It was a connection that felt both new and familiar. Nathan leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. "You know, I wasn't expecting to enjoy this so much. I'm usually all about keeping things professional." "Me too," Lena admitted, her tone light yet sincere. "But sometimes you just click with someone and it's refreshing." Their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, the air between them was charged with an electricity that neither had anticipated. They both chuckled awkwardly, trying to dismiss the sudden shift in the atmosphere. "Okay, let's not get carried away," Nathan said, breaking the tension. "I'm just here for the coffee and conversation." "Right, just two friends enjoying a casual meetup," Lena replied, though a part of her wondered if that was all they would ever be. As they wrapped up their coffee, the conversation lingered, and they both knew this wouldn't be their last meeting. Their friendship felt like the beginning of something beautiful, something that might just surprise them both. They parted with a friendly hug, a lingering warmth in the air, and the promise of another coffee date looming on the horizon, one that held the potential to be anything but ordinary. Chapter 2. The Friendship That Felt Almost Effortless. In no time, Lena and Nathan became inseparable. It began with weekly coffee dates, evolving into late-night texting about books, work challenges, and everyday life. They explored art galleries, swapped movie suggestions, and even created a tradition of Sunday morning hikes. Being with him was easy. Almost too easy. There were no pressures, no facades. Lena felt no need to impress him, and Nathan never felt compelled to be anyone other than himself. As the sun peeked through the trees on a crisp Sunday morning, Lena and Nathan set off on their usual hiking trail, backpacks slung over their shoulders. "Did you remember the snacks this time?" Nathan asked, a teasing sparkle in his eyes. "Of course. I packed your favorites, granola bars and those weird fruit chips you love," she replied, smirking. "You might starve otherwise." "Ah, the true reason for our hikes," he said dramatically, clutching his heart. "To sustain my fragile self." Lena laughed, the sound bright and carefree. "You know, if you didn't spend so much time overthinking, you wouldn't be so fragile." "Touché," he admitted, shaking his head as they began to climb. "But if I didn't overthink, who would keep us from getting lost?" "Me. I have an excellent sense of direction, most of the time," she replied, grinning. "Just remember, it's not about the destination, but the journey." "Wise words," he said, glancing over at her. "But I'd prefer not to end up in a random field again." "Hey, that field had some stunning wildflowers. Besides, we made a great memory, didn't we?" she shot back, nudging him playfully. Nathan chuckled, his gaze lingering for a moment longer than necessary. "True, and your flower crown skills are unmatched." As they reached a scenic overlook, Lena paused to catch her breath, her heart racing, not just from the hike. She turned to Nathan, who was already staring at the view, but she caught the flicker of something in his expression again. "What's on your mind?" she asked, curious. "Just thinking about how we've come to do this every week," he replied, his tone light, but there was a depth in his eyes. "I didn't expect to enjoy hiking this much, or, well, spending time with you." Lena felt her cheeks warm. "Me neither. It's like we just clicked, you know?" "Yeah," he said softly, the atmosphere shifting slightly. "Sometimes I wonder if we're just two people avoiding our pasts by getting lost in the present." "Maybe," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But isn't it nice to have someone to share it with?" "Definitely," he smiled, though there was a hint of something deeper behind it. "You make it easy to forget." They stood in silence for a moment, both lost in thoughts they dared not voice. Lena shifted slightly, breaking the tension. "So what's next on our adventure list? More hiking? Or maybe a movie marathon?" "Movie marathon sounds perfect, but I'm warning you, I'm picking the most ridiculous ones this time," Nathan said with a grin. "Bring it on. Just remember, I'm the queen of cheesy rom-coms," she shot back, a playful challenge in her voice. As they began their descent, the easy banter resumed, but the unspoken words lingered between them, weaving a thread of anticipation into their friendship. Each outing became a delicate dance of laughter and longing, a safe space slowly transforming into something more profound. Chapter 3. The Change. It all shifted on a chilly November night. They had spent the evening at a cozy wine bar, toasting Nathan's recent promotion. Lena leaned in, her eyes sparkling as she raised her glass. "To you, Mr. Big Shot. I always knew you were destined for greatness." Nathan chuckled, his heart swelling with warmth. "And to my favorite person to celebrate with. Wouldn't want to share this moment with anyone else." As they strolled back to her apartment, the air was crisp, and the night felt alive with possibilities. The streetlights cast a soft glow, illuminating Lena's features, and Nathan couldn't help but steal glances at her. She looked beautiful, her laughter echoing in his ears. But then something changed. When a sudden gust of wind made Lena shiver, Nathan instinctively wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the world around them faded into the background. "You know," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, "you look stunning tonight." Lena felt her cheeks flush. Thanks, Nathan. You're not so bad yourself. As they continued to walk, the brief brush of their hands sent an unexpected jolt of electricity through both of them. It was just a fleeting moment, but in that instant, everything felt different, charged with an unspoken tension. Hey, Lena, Nathan began, his voice a bit hesitant. Do you ever think about us? Lena's heart raced. Could he possibly be feeling what she was feeling? What do you mean? She asked, trying to keep her tone light even as her mind raced. I don't know, he admitted, scratching the back of his neck. It's just, tonight felt different. Like, maybe we're more than just friends? She stopped walking, turning to face him fully. Nathan, I've been wondering the same thing. But what if it complicates everything? He took a step closer, his gaze steady. But what if it makes everything better? For a moment, they stood there, the chilly air swirling around them, their breaths mingling in the night. Lena's heart thudded in her chest. I mean, we've always been there for each other, right? Maybe this is the next step? Nathan finished for her, a hopeful glimmer in his eyes. Lena took a deep breath, the weight of their friendship and the potential for something more colliding within her. I like that idea, she finally said, a smile breaking across her face. Nathan grinned, relief washing over him. So, what do we do now? Let's take it slow, she suggested. I don't want to rush into anything, but I'd like to explore whatever this is. Me too, he replied, his voice warm. We can still have our late-night talks and inside jokes, just with a little more spark. Exactly, Lena laughed, her heart lighter than it had been moments before. And I have a feeling we'll create some pretty amazing memories along the way. Nathan took her hand, intertwining their fingers, and they continued down the street. The chill of the November night feeling a little less biting, the promise of something beautiful brightening their path. As they walked side by side, they both knew that their friendship had transformed into something deeper, something worth exploring. A new chapter was beginning, and they were both ready to embrace it. Chapter 4. The X Factor. Just as they began to navigate their emotions, an unexpected complication arrived. Nathan's ex-fiancée, Rachel. Rachel had returned to the city and reached out to Nathan, claiming she wanted closure. Though Nathan had long since moved on from their failed engagement, the timing couldn't have been worse. Lena, already grappling with her feelings, found herself doubting where she stood. One evening, she spotted Nathan having dinner with Rachel. A simple dinner, but the sight of them together left her breathless in the worst way. Lena stood frozen in place, peering through the restaurant window, her heart sinking as she watched Nathan and Rachel animatedly chatting over dinner. Rachel's laughter rang clear, a sound that once filled Nathan's life with warmth, but now felt like a sharp reminder of everything Lena feared. She could barely breathe, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. She turned away, needing to escape the sight that threatened to unravel her budding relationship with Nathan. Inside the restaurant, Nathan leaned slightly forward, his eyes sparkling with a familiarity that made Lena's chest tighten. It's been a while, hasn't it? He asked, breaking the ice. A genuine smile spread across his face as he looked at Rachel, who had always brought a certain lightness to his life. It feels like a lifetime, Rachel replied, her tone playful yet laced with nostalgia. I can't believe I'm back. I've missed this city. Missed you. Nathan's smile faltered for a moment as memories flooded back. Memories of their whirlwind romance that had once felt so right. I've missed it too, he admitted, glancing down at the table as he gathered his thoughts. But things have changed. Rachel leaned in closer, her expression shifting from playful to serious. I know. I heard about you and Lena. She's special, isn't she? She is, Nathan replied, warmth creeping back into his voice. But it's complicated. He paused, the weight of his past settling heavily on his shoulders. You know I never planned for things to end the way they did between us. I thought we were headed for forever. Rachel sighed, a hint of regret in her eyes. So did I. But sometimes life throws us curveballs. I should have seen the signs back then. I guess I was too caught up in the idea of us. She tucked a stray hair behind her ear, her tone softening. I really did love you, Nathan. Nathan nodded slowly, the memories of their love juxtaposed against the reality of his current feelings for Lena. I loved you too, Rachel, but we both know it wasn't meant to be. I thought I'd moved on, but seeing you here, it's a lot to process. Outside, Lena could only imagine the emotions swirling between them. She leaned against a lamppost, her heart racing. What if Nathan still had feelings for Rachel? What if this was more than just closure for Rachel? Closure, Rachel said, her voice breaking through Nathan's thoughts. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I need to know we can both move forward. I don't want to hold you back anymore. Nathan met her gaze, his expression serious. I appreciate that. It's just, I've started to build something with Lena. It's new and it's scary, but it feels right. Rachel's smile was bittersweet. I can see that. She's lucky to have you. Just promise me if you ever feel like I'm getting in the way, you'll tell me. I don't want to complicate your life. I promise, Nathan said, the weight of their shared past pressing on him. But it's not easy, Rachel. You were a huge part of my life, and I can't just forget that. Neither can I, Rachel replied softly. But I want you to be happy, Nathan. And if that means letting you go for good, then I will. Lena stood outside, her heart pounding as she absorbed the conversation. It was painful to hear Nathan talking about Rachel with such warmth, but something in the way he spoke about Lena, the hesitation, the sincerity, made her hope. Just then, Nathan's gaze flickered outside and their eyes locked for a heartbeat. Lena straightened, forcing a smile that felt more like a shield than a genuine expression of joy. Nathan's eyes widened, and she knew he saw the doubt reflected in her gaze. Hey, I think I should head out, Lena called out, her voice steadier than she felt. I didn't mean to interrupt. Lena, wait. Nathan's voice was urgent as he stood up, his chair scraping against the floor, but Rachel reached out, placing a hand on his arm. Let her go, Nathan, Rachel said gently. You need to talk to her. I think it's time for both of us to move on. Lena turned to leave, her heart heavy but resolute. She had to figure out where she stood, even if it meant facing the uncertainty that lay ahead. She had to know if Nathan was truly hers, or if Rachel's presence would always linger, haunting the edges of their story. Chapter 5. The Breaking Point. Lena sat on the edge of the couch, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her sweater. Nathan paced the room, his brow furrowed in concern. He could feel the weight of the silence hanging between them, thick and uncomfortable. Lena, what's going on? He finally asked, stopping in front of her. You've been distant lately. She looked up at him, her eyes shimmering with uncertainty. I saw you with Rachel, she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. It just made me realize I don't know where I stand with you. Nathan felt a jolt of panic. What do you mean you don't know where you stand? Lena, Rachel is my past. You're my present. He took a step closer, his heart racing. And if I'm being honest, the only future I see is one with you. Lena's breath caught in her throat. But what if that's not enough? What if you still have feelings for her? He shook his head, frustration creeping into his voice. It's not about her. I thought we were building something real together. I thought you felt it too. I do, Nathan. But seeing you two together, it just made me question everything. She stood up, her hands trembling. What if I'm just a rebound? What if you're not over her? Lena, look at me, he urged, stepping forward to grip her shoulders gently. I'm over her. I care about you, and I've been trying to figure out how to tell you that without scaring you away. Scaring me away? She let out a small, incredulous laugh. You think I'm scared? I'm terrified. Terrified of what? Nathan challenged, his eyes locked onto hers. Of getting hurt, she admitted, her voice breaking. Of letting myself fall for you only to find out you still want someone else. He took a deep breath, letting the weight of her words sink in. I can't promise that things will always be easy, but I can promise you this. I want to be with you. I'm not looking back. I'm looking forward, with you. Lena searched his gaze, feeling the sincerity behind his words. Are you sure? Absolutely. Nathan's voice was steady, filled with conviction. I'm not going anywhere, Lena. The only place I want to be is right here, with you. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as they held each other's gaze, the tension slowly beginning to dissolve. But with a flicker of doubt, Lena took a step back. What if it's too late? Too late? Nathan frowned, frustration creeping back into his tone. It's never too late. We can figure this out together. Lena hesitated, her heart racing with uncertainty. I just don't want to keep going in circles. I want clarity. Then let's talk it out. No more hiding, no more assumptions. Just us. He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers, grounding her in the moment. As she felt the warmth of his touch, the knot in her stomach began to untwist. Okay, she said softly. Let's talk. Good. Nathan smiled, relief washing over him. Let's start from the beginning. What do you want, Lena? Taking a deep breath, she looked into his eyes, ready to lay her heart bare. I want to know if we can really be together. I want to understand what this is between us. Then let's find out, he replied, pulling her closer. Together. Chapter 6. A Leap of Faith. Nathan took a deep breath, the weight of his decision settling into his chest. Nathan was sure of his choice. He cut ties with Rachel, making it clear his heart belonged elsewhere. But he knew words weren't enough. He needed to show Lena what she meant to him. He had severed ties with Rachel for a reason, and now it was time to show Lena the truth of his heart. I've planned something special for us, he said, a hint of excitement sparking in his eyes. Dinner, your favorite music, and a quiet moment under the city lights. Just us. He watched her face, hoping to see the same spark of anticipation he felt. Lena's eyes widened, and she felt a rush of warmth. Nathan, that sounds perfect, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But are you sure? He stepped closer, closing the space between them. I don't care about the past anymore. I want to be with you, Lena. I want all of it, the good, the complicated, everything. His heart raced as he spoke, each word spilling out like a confession. Lena felt her heart pound in response, a mixture of excitement and fear. You mean it? She asked, searching his eyes for sincerity. This isn't just a fleeting moment? Absolutely not, Nathan replied, shaking his head. This is me being all in. He reached for her hand, gently intertwining their fingers. I want to take this leap of faith with you. Taking a step forward, Lena felt the gravity of his words. I want that too, she whispered, her heart racing at the thought of what they could become together. Nathan's face broke into a smile, relief flooding through him. So, we're doing this? He asked, his voice filled with hope. Yeah, we are, Lena confirmed, her own smile mirroring his. But let's make sure we're ready for whatever comes next. No backing down, right? Right, he agreed, squeezing her hand gently. We'll face it all together. As they stood there, the city lights flickering above them, it felt like the world had shifted. They were no longer just friends, but something deeper, something real. And together, they were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Epilogue. Months later, as spring blossomed outside, Nathan and Lena found themselves at the same wine bar where they first opened up to each other. The air was fragrant with blooming flowers and the promise of new beginnings. Can you believe how far we've come? Lena asked, swirling her glass of red wine. Nathan smiled, warmth spreading through him at the sight of her. From friends to this, he gestured between them. It feels pretty incredible. She leaned in closer, her eyes sparkling with mischief. And to think, all it took was one chilly November night and a little bit of popcorn warfare. He chuckled, reaching for her hand across the table. I wouldn't trade those moments for anything. They brought us here, to this. Here's to more late-night talks and spontaneous adventures. Lena raised her glass, her eyes glinting with excitement. Nathan clinked his glass against hers. And to never losing sight of what brought us together. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and the soft hum of the bar, they both felt the weight of their journey and the thrill of the future that lay ahead.